This is a bonus outtake from our interview with Bob Bert. You can hear Bob's entire full-length episode by subscribing to the Trap Set on iTunes, RSS, Stitcher, or your favorite podcast app. Did you ever live in the city, or were you always living here?
I lived in the city from like 1978, just for a couple years, from 1978 to 1980. And before that, I had a loft in Clifton. I would just drive in all the time. And and then, from 1981 until now, I've been in Hoboken.
Mm-hmm. Do you think that the no-wave aesthetic still kind of informs your approach to art now?
Definitely. I
mean, I'm I'm a little younger than you, so I've seen actually Lydia do like spoken word kind of thing.
Yeah.
And I'm from Milwaukee, which is where James Chance is from.
Yes.
So I've seen him perform there when he's been back for something.
Yeah.
But that's about it.
Yeah. Well, James Chance, I mean the contortions were amazing, and I was printing in Soho, and a girl that I worked with showed me the No New York compilation one day, and I went out and got it immediately, it was a big influence. And it's funny, because now I'm playing with Lydia, and I was just in Paris a couple weeks ago, and we played a gig, but then the next night I was actually on a panel with her and Weasel Walter at the University of Chicago in Paris, and we're discussing no wave. Lydia has a art installation opening up this Friday, and a couple weeks later I'm going to be on a panel there talking about no wave with her and Bibi Hansen, who's Beck's mother, among other things, and Kembra Fowler and a few other people. So it's definitely,
just the underlying principle that concept is more important than technique.
Because I'm not a trained drummer. I'm not, a technically trained drummer, and it's like, it was funny because I was talking to a friend of mine yesterday, and I mentioned, I said, being interviewed by Trap Set tomorrow, and he was like, God, it's about time. You're like, your style, you have your own style, and it's influenced a lot of people. And I don't know if you saw that thing I posted last week. It was some girl who's obviously like 25 or something wrote a review for Pitchfork about Bad Moon Rising's re-release, and it's this big, long...
I did see that.
Yeah.
I don't really read Pitchfork. I don't really read music criticism in general. But
I
saw it because you said something like, well, she trashed my drumming, but I'm posting this anyways.
Yes. And she said all this weird shit, saying it sounded like I played with crab mallets.
Right.
And blah, blah, blah.
I mean, that's just somebody trying to make a name for herself.
Right. And it was really great, and I'm so glad I posted it. Because there was like 50 responses.
Is that why you posted it? Because you wanted somebody to validate?
I was ready. I saw a review, and I was just going to post it. And I said, well, maybe I should read it first. And then I read it, and I was like, oh, God. But, I'm not going to, not post it. Because I'm like, I'm not I'm not one of those people that if someone writes a bad review, it's going to bother me at all. Because... because to me, if someone's writing a bad review and it's some stupid college kid that's probably listening to Vampire Weekend or some crap,
right.
Whatever. And, but it was so cool to even even responses from well-known journalists and drummers that I know. They were like, what are you kidding me? That's like my favorite drumming record, blah, 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 blah. So it was kind of...
Right. I mean,
weird.
It doesn't matter if you're a great writer, it doesn't matter if your penmanship is sloppy. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. And who gives a shit anyway? I mean, the album is obviously being reissued 30 years later, and it's been reissued before, but, it's obviously been reissued. It's going to be reissued 30 years later because people want... how many people... And I know, if they ran into Steve Shelley, maybe they'd say something different. But how many people come up to me a lot saying how that's their favorite Sonic Youth record, blah, blah, blah. it's changed my life. I hear that all the time, and I'm not bragging, but that's the truth, So
It's a great record, and the drumming is great.
Oh, thank you.
There, we can end it now. Therapy session is over.
Exactly.
Have you had much interaction with Steve over the years?
Oh yeah, he lives here in town, so I see him all the time. And the Sonic Youth rehearsal recording studio is in the same building where mine is, so I run into Lee and Steve all the time. I hang out with Lee pretty often, and he came to see.
I think in another 10, 20 years, there's going to be some sort of like, when it's time to cash in all the way, then you guys can do like a reunion concert, do Bad Moon Rising with you, and then some record that Steve was on.
One of the 30 albums that Steve's on.
Yeah.